Welcome to our third lesson, focusing on exploring the lumbar spine. In this lesson, we will look at the lumbar spine, its structure, its movements, and the muscles involved in that part of the spine and the scoliotic curve. This is particularly relevant for you if you have a lumbar curve or a thoracolumbar curve, but if you don't have a lumbar scoliosis, I still recommend you watch this video because there are various principles that can be useful for you. So the lumbar spine is made of 5 vertebrae placed directly above the sacrum. This means that any imbalance in the pelvis and sacrum, such as rotation, will have a ripple effect on these lower vertebrae and can destabilize them, contribute to their rotation and bending to the side. The most common pattern is a curve bending to the left. The general rule is that the muscles located on the concave side of the curve are shorter than those on the convex side that are stretched out. We will come back to this later. The side bending of the spine comes together with the rotation of the vertebrae in the same direction, which makes the convex side look more prominent than the lumbar side. The body, and so the spine too, moves in 3 planes or directions. The first one is the coronal plane, which allows all movements sideways, away from the midline. For the spine, it means bending sideways. So here you can see how this plane is particularly relevant for us with scoliosis, where the spine is bent to the side. The second plane is called the transverse plane. It is also very important to take into consideration for understanding scoliosis. The transverse plane allows rotation to the left or to the right, so it allows the vertebrae to rotate. And then there is a third plane, which is less talked about for scoliosis, but is actually very, very important, which is the sagittal plane. This allows movements forward and backward. When we work on our scoliosis and posture in general, it is important to take these 3 planes or dimensions into consideration. Let's have a closer look at what happens in the lumbar spine in the sagittal plane. Let's look at the spine here from the side. You can see that it looks like an S. In the lumbar area, it is called a lordosis, and in the thoracic area, it is called a kyphosis. These curves are very important in order to allow for the spine to absorb shock and allow for proper organization of the skeleton and muscular tissues so that your structure can effortlessly stand up against gravity. Now, these curves might not look like that in real life or in your case. If you have ever taken x-rays from the side for your scoliosis, this is what they're looking for. It can happen that the lumbar lordosis is too accentuated, in which case we call it a hyperlordosis. This can come from an imbalance of the pelvis, where the pelvis and sacrum are excessively tilted forward, and it can cause issues for the intervertebral discs that can be put under much more pressure than they are meant to be and lead to herniated discs, among other issues. Then in the thoracic spine, you can have a hyperkyphosis, meaning the normal kyphosis is excessive and the spine is rounded forward more than it should ideally be. This can come as a compensation for hyperlordosis, but we will look at this one specifically in the next lesson. For now, let's focus on the lumbar spine. If you have scoliosis, you might have either a normal lordosis or a hyperlordosis, or even a hypolordosis. This is when the curve of your lower back is too flat, and this is very common with scoliosis.